The 8,692nd meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation concerning the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of Item 2 of the agenda. Members of the Council have before them document S/2019/957, the text of a draft resolution submitted by France. I wish to draw the attention of Council members to document S/2019/842, a letter dated 24 October 2019 from the Secretary General addressed to the President of the Security Council, and document S/2019/905, the report of the Secretary General on the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Council is ready to proceed to the vote on the draft resolution before it. I shall now put the draft resolution to a vote now. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2019/957 please raise their hand? The result of the voting is as follows. The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 2502 of 2019. I now give the floor to those members of the Council who wish to make statements after the vote. I give the floor to the representative of France.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam President, France welcomes the unanimous adoption of this resolution, which renews the Monusco mandate. Through this resolution, the Security Council enshrined the entry of the DRC into the new phase of its history and marks the importance of partnership between the UN and the DRC so as to jointly contribute towards the protection of civilians and the stabilization of the country. And that is why the Council asks the DRC and UN, inter alia, to together develop a transition strategy, the strategy which enable them to determine the priorities needed in order to put together the preconditions for the ultimate withdrawal of Monusco in what the Independent Strategic Review called the Transition Compact for Lasting Peace. And this initiative will allow to concentrate efforts in the east of the country, which is still witnessing violent clashes, whilst continuing to consolidate the state and its institutions. The Security Council also, through this resolution, recalls its expectations when it comes to the protection of civilians, which is at the heart of the mandate under Chapter 7, and which is the responsibility of the entirety of the mission. But above and beyond the Monusco, it is the assistance of all of the partners that the DRC will need so as to implement the needed reforms in order to sustainably stabilize the country. And I'm referring here to the justice and security sector reform, to the disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process in particular. Both of these are essential elements in order to end the violence which continues impacting some parts of the country. I'm also referring to the development programs put forward by President Sécurité and his government. They aim at ensuring there is equitable access to available resources as well as to basic services and easing tensions, in particular intercommunity tensions. The UN, international financial institutions, bilateral and multilateral partners all have to mobilize in support of the DRC to enable them to reach these objectives. Monusco will not be able to do all of this on their own, and the DRC can count on the support of France. We are already planning to extend the support of 300 million euros over the 5 upcoming years. And finally, in addition to the partners, it is the entire region that has to mobilize themselves first and foremost. The Great Lake region has an enormous development potential, and the states of the region have an interlinked destiny in order to valorize that. And this is the objective enshrined in the Addis Ababa Agreement in 2013, eliminating hostile groups, normalizing the extractive sector, legal and fiscal harmonization, regional cooperation in customs and police matters requires the commitment of all states as well as sub-regional organizations. We express a wish that all of the political leaders in the region fully seize the opportunity they have now in front of them in order to definitively turn the page on the past and together build the future in partnership. I thank you.
I thank the representative of France for her statement. I now give the floor to the representative of South Africa.
Madam President, the 3 African countries that are members of the Security Council, Cote d'Ivoire, Equatorial Guinea and South Africa, welcome the adoption of the resolution extending the mandate of Monusco for a 12-month period. The Monusco mandate renewal for a 12-month period will accompany President Felix Tshisekedi and his government in their journey towards peace and stability for the development of their country, for the good of their people. We commend the pen holder for their stewardship of the negotiating process and for conducting the negotiations in a transparent manner in pursuit of consensus. We would also like to extend our appreciation to other members of the Security Council for their constructive engagement. We support the overall strengthening of MONUSCO's mandate to protect civilians from the threat of armed groups and welcome the indispensable role played by the Force Intervention Brigade, the FIB, in this regard. We commend MONUSCO for the valuable and important role it has played in the security of the DRC and in support of the positive political developments in that country. The security situation in the east of the DRC, however, underscores the need for the government of the DRC to strengthen the capacity of state institutions with the support of MONUSCO. Thus, the A3, we view the maintaining of the dual priority tasks set out in this resolution as vital to address the conditions. Furthermore, the resolution epitomizes the pronouncements made by President Tshisekedi on his vision for MONUSCO in addressing the challenges facing his country, in particular the security situation pertaining to the east of the DRC. The 3 members of the African members of the Security Council welcome the request for the SG to work with the DRC government to develop benchmarks that are to be met for the successful and responsible handover of MONUSCO tasks to the DRC government. It is vital that, in this regard, the withdrawal of MONUSCO be based on the positive evolution of the situation on the ground and the successful meeting of those benchmarks. In conclusion, Madam President, we look forward to further engagement with all members of the Security Council and the DRC government on the future of MONUSCO, taking into account that the DRC needs to advance its national security program towards the development of their country. I thank you.
I thank the representative of South Africa for his statement. I give the floor to the representative of Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Indonesia welcomes the unanimous adoption of Resolution 2502 just now. We thank the pen holder for the efforts in finding compromise among divergent positions. Indonesia voted in favor of this resolution for several reasons. One of it is our response to the call from DRC to strengthen MONUSCO's capacity and extend its mandate. We also recognize MONUSCO's invaluable role in protecting the civilians and maintaining peace and stability in the country. Madam President, at the high-level event on improving peacekeeping performance earlier this month, Ambassador Kelly Craft stated that peacekeeping performance is about accountability. While we subscribe to that statement, we also emphasize that such accountability must be balanced. MONUSCO is most and foremost a peacekeeping mission that must adhere to a certain standard of professionalism. At the same time, it is important to recognize that performance standards must apply to all components of the mission, uniform as well as civilians. To reach that standards, peacekeeping mandates must also be matched with the necessary resources. Peacekeepers and the people that they serve will always be at risk and in harm's way if peacekeepers have to do more with less. It is vital, therefore, to have meaningful and regular consultation with TPCCs throughout all mission stages. Madam President, we welcome a better balanced section on performance in this resolution. Indonesia reiterates our commitment to working with member states in improving peacekeeping performance and creating an accountable peacekeeping mission. I salute the peacekeepers for risking their life and leaving their families behind to pursue peace in the DRC and in the world. Their safety and security will be on top of Indonesia's priority. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of Indonesia for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of China.
Madam President, at present, the overall situation in the DRC remains stable. In the past year since he took office, President Tshisekedi has made great efforts to enhance government's capacity in governance and security and promote economic and social development with positive results. This fully shows that the government and the people of DRC have the will and ability to independently solve the problems facing the country. At the same time, DRC still faces many challenges in achieving lasting peace, particularly in view of the severe problem of armed groups in the eastern part of the country. As such, it is necessary for the international community to continue its support. Since its establishment nearly 20 years ago, Monusco has played an important role for maintaining peace and stability in DRC. Under the current complex situation, it is necessary for the mission to continue to fulfill its mandate. China welcomes the unanimous adoption by the Council of Resolution 2502 renewing the mandate of Monusco and appreciates the flexibility of Council members during the negotiation process, which contributed to reaching consensus on the text and demonstrated unity of the Security Council. China hopes that Monusco, in delivering its mandate, will continue to enhance communication, coordination, and cooperation with the DRC government. We also hope that the UN Secretariat conducts the strategic review of Monusco's mandate on the basis of respecting the views of the DRC government, so as to ensure a gradual and orderly transfer of security responsibilities from the mission to the DRC security force. China is ready to work together with the international community to continue to contribute to the early realization of peace, stability, and development in DRC. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of China for his statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Poland.
Thank you, Madam President. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank France for its excellent work during negotiations of the Resolution 2502. Madam President, in the last year, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has made an important political transformation. This effort is appreciated. Poland welcomes the fact that the Security Council was able to maintain a constructive position on the extending of the mission's mandate and maintain its main priorities. We believe that this will help the government to increase the state ability to provide minimum conditions enabling gradual transfer of responsibilities from Monusco to the national authorities in the future. The neutralization of armed groups and reduction of inter-community violence in the DRC continue to be necessary conditions for improving the security situation and ensuring respect for human rights in the country. In this regard, we believe that the implementation of the crucial disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration program should be complemented by the community violence reduction approach. It is essential that more emphasis will be put on the civilian and police components of the mission that would support dialogue and mediation at central and local level, but also promote inclusiveness of the political process. Looking ahead, it is of utmost importance that Security Council remains in a constructive, honest, and open dialogue with the authorities on the prospects of the United Nations presence in the country. Poland hopes that the future Security Council decisions in this regard will base on realities on the ground, so that 2 decades of United Nations peacekeeping efforts in the DRC won't be lost. Let me finish with expressing our gratitude to tireless efforts of the whole Monusco team to support peace, security, and stability in the country. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Poland for her statement. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the representative of the United States. Fellow council members, please allow me to express my thanks to France as the penholders of today's resolutions. The United States fully supports this revised mandate, which should improve the mission's performance, consistent with the request of the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, that the mission become leaner, better equipped, and better trained with a stronger protection of civilians mandate. The United States has historically been and will continue to be a strong supporter of meaningful accountability and justice for victims of atrocities through appropriate mechanisms. However, the United States does not and cannot support any references to the International Criminal Court and the Rome Statute that do not distinguish sufficiently between parties and non-parties to the Rome Statute, or are otherwise inconsistent with the U.S. position on the ICC, as announced by the White House on September 10th, 2018. In particular, the United States reiterates our continuing and longstanding objection to any assertion of ICC jurisdiction over nationals of states that are not parties to the Rome Statute, including the United States and Israel, absent a referral from the UN Security Council or the consent of such a state. Our position on the ICC in no way diminishes our commitment to supporting accountability for atrocity crimes. The United States remains a leader in the fight to end impunity and support justice and accountability for international crimes, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. The United States respects the decision of those nations that have chosen to join the ICC, and in turn, we expect that our decision not to join and not to place our citizens under the court's jurisdiction will also be respected. Thank you. I resume my function as the President of the Council. I now give the floor to the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Madam President, I would like to begin by thanking the permanent mission of the United States at the United Nations for organizing this meeting to discuss the situation in my country, the DRC, and also to discuss the renewal of the mandate of the United Nations Mission for Stabilization of the DRC, Monusco. And also thank you for giving me an opportunity to take the floor here at the Council. I'd like to take this opportunity to once again reiterate my congratulations for the excellent work that you have been doing throughout this month of December 2019. I would also like to express to the Security Council the gratitude of my government and of the Congolese people for the efforts that have been made over several years by the United Nations as it continues to work to restore peace and stability in my country. I would like to in particular thank Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, for his determination and his personal involvement in finding a solution to achieve lasting peace in the situation, in particular in the eastern part of the DRC. Madam President, the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo takes note of the adoption today of resolution of the resolution just adopted, that 2502, which extends, renews the mandate of Monusco for another year. This time we'll take advantage of this period of time to strengthen our strategic dialogue with the United Nations until an orderly and gradual withdrawal of Monusco. This important decision by the Council is certainly not a mere formality or routine decision, but rather a renewal of a joint commitment. The government of the DRC, United Nations, the Great Lakes region, as well as other partners will work together to promote peace, security, and stability in the DRC and in the Great Lakes region in order to achieve the dream of of sustainable development and economic integration in the region. Madam President, peace and security are essential factors for the stability of the Great Lakes region, which requires a strict respect of adherence to the agreements concluded and the political determination of the leaders to work together for the harmony of the region. The easing of tensions and the dynamic of cooperation that has been observed throughout this year since taking of office by His Excellency President Tshisekedi I think presage a better future for the region. Now, in particular, with regard to the security situation in the DRC, while generally it is calm, it is still dominated by the activity of certain armed groups, national and foreign groups, as well as intercommunal conflicts, especially in the eastern part of the country. Some of these armed groups, Mai for the most part, have allied with foreign armed groups and formed dangerous coalitions, and it is in this context that the president has launched large-scale military operations on the 30 of October of this year around the city of Beni. These operations are conducted by the armed forces of the DRC with the support of Monusco in order to eradicate all these threats, and in particular the ADF-MTM, which is a terrorist group that has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. The military pressure by the armed forces has started to bear fruit, and I can mention several examples. The neutralization of several Mai militiamen and the seizure of several pieces of military equipment in Mwera in the territory of Fizi on the 2nd of November. The surrender of 20 Mai combatants and Ngungu in the Masisi territory in the North Kivu on the 25th of November. The surrender of 120 combatants of Mai Kalumne group in the South Kivu on the 2nd of December. The destruction to the tune of 95% of the bases of the negative forces of the CNRDT with some 1,712 captured soldiers, including 245 combatants and 10 political leaders of the spoiler movement at Kalele in South Kivu on the 4th of December. The recapture and control of a number of ADF-MTM strongholds, in particular Mayangose, Mapobu Carrier, and the neutralization of several leaders of the FDLR FOCA, such as Sylvestre Madakumura, Juvenal Nsamibana, alias Jean-Michel Africa, and Charles Kakule. Now, in spite of these strides, of course, unfortunately, there's been a change of strategy by the enemy that has been routed, in particular the terrorists of ADF-MTM, who unfortunately now have targeted innocent civilian populations in major urban centers, sowing death and destruction. Following the massacres committed lately by the elements of this terrorist movement, the president has decided to establish an advanced headquarters of the armed forces in Beni and called on a greater involvement and more support by Monusco. The head of state also replaced all the command staff in the operational zone and redeployed all these soldiers by transferring 11,000 soldiers that were present in the area, and in fact has deployed a larger contingent of 21,000 soldiers. Furthermore, the armed forces of the DRC have proceeded to establish a rapid intervention brigade and special forces which are currently deployed in this part of our national territory to ensure the victory by our armed forces. Furthermore, the government has deployed additional units of the national police in major cities, major urban centers of Beni, conquered by the armed forces to provide security to the civilian population. Madam President, as stated by the President, the determination of the government and its armed forces is whole and unwavering to eradicate these armed groups that terrorize the east part of the country, and all resources have been deployed to achieve this goal. In this combat, the Congolese government is counting on the support of Monusco and its partners to restore peace and to provide a smile and hope to the people living in the east of the country. It's in this context that the government in particular appreciates the decision of the Security Council to choose as the strategic priorities for the new mandate of Monusco the protection of civilians as well as the support for stabilization and strengthening of state institutions, and in particular reform of governance and security. Indeed, my country is counting on the assistance and support of the DDR program, both for the national armed groups that lay down their arms to return to civilian life, as well as for foreign armed groups. I think you'll agree with me that the DDR program is of particular importance for the reintegration of former combatants in order to make sure that they're not recruited again by the armed groups. Now, in speaking to the members of Parliament on the 13th of December, the head of state reaffirmed his wholehearted commitment to reforming the security sector, in particular to make sure that the armed forces become a powerful, well-trained and equipped armed force, to revise the reform plan for the national police, to adapt it and to come up with a new plan called One Nation, One Police, and to reform the intelligence services. Madam President, the idea of concentrating MONUSCO troops in the 6 provinces where their presence is considered necessary is very much in line with the request of the government to focus on the provinces where the threat level is high and to reduce their presence in areas where the threat is no longer as serious. It is in this context that the President requested a reconfiguration of MONUSCO, which was focusing on a qualitative adjustment of troops, there should be less troops, that they should be better equipped and experienced in asymmetric warfare. My government intends to continue deepening discussions on this topic in the framework of our strategic dialogue. Madam President, respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms is a constant concern for the government. A government that ensures respect for democratic liberties inherent to democracy, and in particular by the supervision by trained professionals of public demonstrations. In this context, the fight against violations of human rights and violations of humanitarian law against children in territories affected by the conflict, bearing this in mind, the government continues to apply the roadmap which was developed in order to put an end to the recruitment and the use of children by armed groups and to prevent sexual violence. Furthermore, Congolese judiciary continues in full independence and in a professional way the hearings in the framework of the investigation of the killing of the 2 UN experts, bearing in mind the evidence obtained by the International Investigation Mission and the additional evidence by the Special Prosecutor. The last hearing, the 32nd, was held on the 3rd of December, the Special Military Tribunal in Western Kasai, ex-province of Western Kasai. Madam President, allow me to conclude by recalling that the resolution that your council has just adopted seeks to improve the performance of MONUSCO in order to put an end to the suffering of the populations in the east of my country. A situation, as you know, that has led to the millions of deaths. And all of the people of the DRC have expressed their impatience and their desire to see this situation ended. It is now important to implement these to achieve this goal. I would like to conclude by thanking all the troop contributing countries as well as the Blue Helmets who have accepted a tremendous sacrifice to fight for peace and security in my country. Before concluding, I would like to wish you, Madam President, as well as all members of the Security Council, on behalf of the delegation of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2020. Thank you very much for your attention.
I thank the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo for his statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.